So the day that I knew I was pregnant, I was watching TV and the commercial came on, the Amazon commercial with the lion, the dog that they dress up as a lion, with the little baby. And I started crying, and I never cry. And I called Jess and was like, have you ever seen that commercial with the baby and the dog? And she's like, oh my God, you're pregnant.
When we were at our last appointment, we were told not to test at home, and they told us that if you test at home, you get a false positive or a false negative, and we could get a false negative and then decide not to go in and do the blood test, and then we could be pregnant the whole time while living like we're not. So we decided that instead of listening to the doctor, we were going to test at home.
So we decided to take a pregnancy test.
She got home from work, and I said, hey, listen, why don't you just test? And she said no, she didn't want to, and I begged her, and she said, fine, I'll go test. So she took the pregnancy test and went upstairs before it was even done, and went upstairs and started taking a shower. And I sat patiently by the pregnancy test, just hovering it, waiting to find out. And there was just the faintest of faint lines. And we had tried several times before and never got a faint line. We always knew it was a hard negative. And there was just the faintest of faint lines, and I start crying, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the bathroom by myself crying, and I'm like, we are having a baby. So I go upstairs, and I'm like, you know, she's in the shower, and I said, so according to this test, you're pregnant. And she's like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I was like, no, we are having a baby.
And I didn't believe it, so we took 7 more.
That night, I did what any normal human would do, and I went to Walmart, spent $100 in pregnancy tests.
And then the next day, we took more tests. We took tests for like 3 or 4 days before we finally went to the doctor and found out that it was true.
As a whole, our whole life has changed. We are, redoing things in the house. We are moving furniture from one room to the next, getting rid of furniture, organizing our clothes and getting rid of things we don't need.
I think that when you find out, you really stop thinking about the present, and it's all about the future and the things that you need to do, the things that you should be doing. It stops being all about you. It starts being about someone else.
How are we gonna, how are we gonna afford baby clothes? It's all fun and games when you're like, we're gonna have a baby, and now you're like, oh, how am I gonna do this, So everything has changed. Life has changed. The people that we've decided to surround ourselves with has changed. We're not going out and living it up. I mean, we weren't really doing that before anyway, but now we're much more cautious of the choices that we make, because we know that this potentially impacts the baby, and we're not going to let anything stand in the way of a happy, healthy, successful baby. So we decided that we weren't going to tell anybody for the first 12 weeks, the first trimester of having this baby. And anybody who knows me knows I cannot keep a fun secret. I'm terrible at surprises, and so this was like super hard for us.
At first it wasn't as hard until I started getting nauseous every time I ate, and then it became more difficult, especially around family and things like that too, because I could tell that they knew that something was up. They just weren't sure what. And as far as friends and things like that, it was really hard to keep it a secret, because we felt like we had to distance ourselves from friends who wanted to go out and have drinks and party and stuff like that. We were kind of like, no, we're sick.
And then we went through a period where we had to delete our Facebooks, because guilty conscience paranoia sets in, and you're like, oh my God, if somebody tags me in a baby video, everybody's gonna know that we're having a baby, even though nobody knows that we're having a baby. So we were really nervous about that. And then we finally started telling people. We told my mom, and that was super exciting, just super exciting. We were really nervous because, we didn't tell people that we were trying again. I think everybody thought we were taking hiatus from it, and I think that everybody thought we were just gonna kind of take a break, and we had told people we're gonna start traveling. We were like, we're just gonna start traveling. And so people just stopped asking, and that was good for us, because there were no more stressors. It wasn't like, oh, we gotta tell people, and then they're not gonna know whether or not, we were successful or not or whatever. So being able to to tell my mom was really exciting, and she cried, and it was really fun for us to, to see her excited to be a grandma, and now telling my sisters and everybody has been really, really fun. But holding a secret for 12 weeks is probably one of the toughest things that I've ever had to do. Like, we went out for you, baby. Like, we held out on our friends and family for 12 weeks.
So what I would like to say to you is that we love you so much, and we worked so hard to have you, and we're so excited to meet you.
So you aren't here yet, but we've waited our whole lives for you, and you are the greatest accomplishment we've ever had, individually and as a couple. And we've had lots of ups and downs in the progress of creating you, but you are our greatest accomplishment. I want you to know that no matter what happens in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, we will always be your biggest fans. We will always support you and love you no matter what. You are the most perfect thing, and you are the best thing that has happened to us. And we will always love you. We will always support you, and we will always be there for you.